Boyfriend pushes for polyamory and then gets a queer platonic partner after I repeatedly refuse the poly stuff. Was that cheating? I already broke up with this guy like 2 years ago, but I still can't figure out if he technically cheated on me or not. Our relationship was long distance and took place while we were young and naive. It was my first ever relationship. The relationship was really toxic, but the main thing I want to focus on is this poly thing. He'd bring up polyamory a lot with me and asked if I were okay with it, and each time I'd give a no or a hesitant, maybe in the future. He eventually accepted that I was uncomfortable with it, but was so obviously annoyed by it. I asked him if he was sure that it was okay for me to feel turned off at the thought of it, and he replied, "No lol, but whatever makes people happy." So the damn, my boyfriend doesn't feel fulfilled with me seed has been already planted in my brain by now. But he stops trying to push for a polyamorous relationship, so I consider it a win. Apparently, somewhere in between that, he asked me if he could get a QPP, queer platonic partner, and I agree. Some time passes, and then one day he messages me and tells me that he has a QPP. I'd seen a few things about this from people on Twitter, but I never really understood it. All I really got was that it's a really strong bond between queer people that surpasses friendship, but isn't necessarily romantic. My ex and I are both bi, and he's a trans guy, and we're also both chronically online, so I just figured it was one of those things I didn't really understand to the fullest degree, because it didn't necessarily apply to me like some identites I've seen online. All I get from it is super close besties that are closer than your usual super close besties, and I tell him that I'm happy for him. I mean, it has platonic in the name, couldn't be that bad, right? Then he starts telling me about his QPP, and it's like red flag central up in here. They'd call each other pet names and stuff, and I found out that they were kind of sexually involved with one another. They never actually did the deed or anything, but the QPP would touch my ex's boobs, and he told me they'd sex each other, and yeah. Did not have a fun time hearing about that, but I was really stupid and didn't want to upset him, so I just pretended to be happy for them still. Spoiler alert. I was not happy and sobbed about it all the time to myself. Eventually, some time passes. I get to a point where I'm like, screw it, and I tell him how jealous I feel. He explains to me that he's always interpreted queer platonic relationships as just being friends with benefits, and figured that it was okay since I agreed to it before. He acknowledges that I'm uncomfortable with it though, feels really guilty about it, and gradually ends it. Was that cheating? A lot of people that I've told this to have called it cheating, but the situation feels so weird because I technically told him that he could, so I can't bring myself to call it that.